everyone can be a salon manager. Not everyone can lead a team effectively and efficiently.
I see too many owners make is that they'll choose somebody because they've been there the longest or because they're the busiest and creating the most sales.
It's not something you can kind of teach someone to be. It's normally within them and who they are. And if that's not clear from the start and not referred to often, that again leads to overwhelm from both parts.
What are the things we should think about when trying to find a manager?
When we are looking for the right person, I think that's the biggest part of this is,
I think I need a manager. Should I promote one from inside the salon or post a job ad for somebody new? Wait, hang on. What would my manager actually do? Salon owners ask me this question often, and sometimes the thought of deciding what a manager role would look like in your salon, let alone who the heck would take the role anyway, feels daunting, but it doesn't have to be. Managers are key in helping your salon grow smoothly and successfully. It's also key in helping you take a stress-free holiday. Today, I'm joined by our Salon Mastery coach, Greta. She also runs the Motivating Managers program. So together, we're going to break down how do we find and where do we find a manager. This episode of the Salon Owners Collective podcast is brought to you by the Motivating Managers program. If you're a salon owner looking to grow your management team, the Motivating Managers program will give you the tools, the roadmap to successfully recruit, upskill your managers alongside you. You will learn how to build confidence, trust, and communication within your team. Greta will also help you coach your manager so that they can help you grow your salon. All right, all you need to do is click apply in the show notes and we'll chat. All right, I'm looking forward to you meeting Greta. Let's chat about how to break down where to find a manager. Let's jump into the show now. Greta, thank you so much for joining me on the Salon Owners Collective podcast. Nice to have you back.
yes, very excited to be here.
Well, for those of you that don't know who the heck you are, Greta, do you want to do a little bit of like, who are you? What did you used to do? And I'll let you tell them what you do now.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So I actually worked with Larissa, I say way back in salon days. And after that, I looked after, I was managing 19 salons, averaging around 19 managers at one point, supporting them to grow the businesses and grow the spaces. So it was, yes, a very empowering, impactful part of my journey. And now I am a coach here at Salon Owners Collective, and I have been here around nearly 5.5 years, program manager for Salon Mastery. I am running the managers program, and I mostly coach for the larger format, more than one owner. And it's just, it's empowering working with salon owners and the level that we have here.
So I'm very grateful to have you on board. And it's because of your experience and our long journey together, Greta, that I thought it was really relevant for you to come back onto the podcast again and talk about managing managers because you've had so much experience in that space. When we worked together, I always, I was so sad to lose you back in the salon days. I lost Greta to the love of her life, which of course now she's married and got 2 children, but she had to move for love. And I guess it's a good reason for people to leave your business. But we always used to bump into each other, didn't you? While you were running those 19 salons, you were flying up around the countryside, busy days, pre-children, of course. And we always used to bump into each other in the airport. And so we always had these random conversations and we kept in touch. And so I always knew that I wanted to work with you again. So Greta started 5.5 years ago and now pretty much runs the show, just say. But because you work with larger formats, all of the large format salons have managers, you run the managers program. And because a lot of the work that you do are with more than one owner, which, you know, there needs to be real clarity around role descriptions for owner to owner and then plus often a manager. So I thought this is the right topic for us to be talking about together.
Mm.
And so a question that I get asked a lot, Greta, is like, where do I find a manager? Should I promote someone internally, or should I recruit somebody new? Like, this is a hard decision for an owner.
Yeah,
What are
for
your
sure.
thoughts? Like, what are the things we should think about when trying to find a manager?
Look, I think that it's a great question because it's definitely something that we need to process when we are looking for the right person. I think that's the biggest part of this is like not everyone can be a salon manager. Not everyone can lead a team effectively and efficiently. So it is about finding the right person. And I think no matter if that person is standing right in front of you in your salon, going down that process and following through with an interview process is absolutely key. So to navigate that question of like, should I be promoting internally and just grabbing that person that's right in front of me because I think that they might be right and just saying you're now a salon manager, or should I be promoting externally? My absolute thoughts and answer to that is both. Like promote is about like ensuring that you are widening the scope and that you are interviewing everybody, not just the person that you think it might or should be that is right in front of you. If that person then applies, you go through that interview process and you really follow that process to the steps that you would with anyone externally. By putting it out there to both aspects, you are widening your scope of being able to find the absolute right person.
I'm pleased you said that, because I think the mistake I see too many owners make is that they'll choose somebody because they've been there the longest, or because they're the busiest and creating the most sales.
Yep.
Then there's assumption because they can manage a clientele that they'll be able to teach other people to do that. But that's actually not the attributes that we want for a manager, is it? Just because they can serve the clients and do the sales. So I'm actually, let's talk in a minute about what are those attributes. But when looking for a manager, you're saying do the external, promote it externally, the job, and promote it internally, and let people apply and go through a proper consultation process, interview process.
Yeah, for sure. I think we can get really stuck on the like you said, they've been here the longest, I don't want to upset them, so I'm going to promote them and make them manager. I've seen this mistake happen before, and it really is a mistake if they are not the right person for the role, haven't gone through the interview process and questions to find out, even for themselves, do they really truly know what that role involves? And I think that sometimes the word manager sounds great, like, oh yes, it's a level up, that's what I want to be, I want to be a salon manager, but do they actually know what's entailed in that role? And I think that's something that gets missed. So this is why I lean towards going down that pathway of a full interview process, asking all the questions, making sure that you are like fully setting the stage and they are 100% aware what they are stepping into and what's required of them in that role. If you set that from the get-go, then there's no confusions of, well, what am I actually meant to be doing, or the frustrations of them not doing their role are limited because of that fact right from the start.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Like, here's the job description, here is the interview process, here are all the questions. Actually, the equal purpose of that interview process is not just for you to assess if they're right, but for them to assess whether they're actually interested in the role and whether they actually really want to do the things that maybe they didn't even realize. Because I think you're right, people see this opportunity to be a bit more important and have a bit more authority or whatever it is that appealing, and might not realize that there's some hard things to do, or that they might not be able to do as many clients because they've got to make space for management responsibilities. Okay, well, let's switch now into what are we looking for in a manager? Like, what are the attributes that we're looking for? And I just want to be aware that I said attributes, not skills. Like, already we are establishing that there are management attributes, not just because I can cut hair, run a column, and blow wave really well. What are your thoughts on those attributes?
Absolutely. Well, I think one leading one that I was always looking for and still do when I coach the managers program now is confidence. And that is something that it's a needs must when you are in that role. You need to have confidence to manage other people, manage your team, motivate your team, lead your team to success. If confidence isn't there, it is something that we can work on and that we can grow, but how much we need that level of confidence to a degree for starting in a management role. Yeah, I think that's one attribute that I always look for.
Self-confidence, Greta, like confidence in self.
Absolutely. Like, you need to be standing tall, need to be proud of who you are and what you can achieve. Have to have that self-belief that you can be more and do more, and that you believe that you are the right person for that role. And if that isn't coming across, that's really hard to build in a manager, as well as teaching them all the skills and tasks that they need to perform. So having confidence from the start is going to help you have a next level manager for your business.
Yeah.
I think I'd mentioned this just before when I said about confidence is like the motivating the team. They need to be a motivational person to be able to teach and lead and guide their team. So that's an attribute I always look for, is the motivation, and self-motivation is definitely projected when you are having conversations and questions in an interview process. You should be able to see, are they motivated within themselves? And if they are, then that should project through onto their team and with their team as well.
Yeah, it's almost like, do people already look up to them? Even if not in a leadership kind of a way, but is there some respect maybe that comes probably from confidence? Does that already exist within the team? Yeah.
And I think too, if they are coming from being a stylist or therapist on the floor and applying for an interview, like going through the interview process to be a manager, are they motivated to reach further, aim higher, push themselves? You know, there's motivation levels there. They know how to do that. Then that's then the ability to project that through to their team. So like you say, if people are looking up to them or people are reaching to them for ideas, that's all normally a good sign that there's some sort of motivational level there.
Yeah. Okay. What else?
Being switched on and very present. So if you're in through that interview process, really fine tuning and taking good notes on, are their responses to your questions to the point, on the mark, even maybe sometimes ahead of you, is really, really good. That's a sign that they're snappy, they're really ready to go, and they are forward thinkers. I think that's a really key attribute for a manager, because you want them to take action and be coming to you with ideas and coming to you with the thoughts and process, rather than you having to ask and ask and ask all the time. So having that attribute from the get-go, and is something that I always felt it's not something you can kind of teach someone to be. It's normally within them and who they are, as being that switched on, forward thinking, ahead of you and ahead of the ideas. So that was one thing that I always look for when going through that process.
Hey, I actually just wanted to interrupt this podcast because I wanted to share quickly that my team and I are on a mission to elevate the salon industry. We're too freaking cool as an industry to be thought of as the school dropout career choice, and that salon owners, all that they do is cut and color hair and paint nails. Hang on a minute, we're actually salon CEOs. So can you help us grow the reach of the podcast so more owners can listen and learn about life-changing business strategies, how to run their business, how to make a profitable investment in running a salon and live a life of freedom and profit? No more 60-hour weeks, no more overwhelm. We want to enjoy our business and elevate this industry. All you need to do to help this mission is to hit the subscribe button of this podcast. All right, let's jump back to the podcast. I love that. And something that you and I talked about just before was will people tell you their real opinion on things?
Yeah.
When asked, will they just say, oh yes, what would you like me to do? Let me do that for you. That's not a leader in the making, but
No.
actually have their opinion. It may not be the right opinion, but have an opinion and be prepared or confident enough to share it. And
Yeah.
then on the other side, you want to know that they're going to objectively look at that. They're not attached to their opinion because of their ego, because
Yeah.
you don't want somebody who's pushing their own
It's
agenda, but that you can work together, right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can come to a conclusion that this is the best outcome for the client or for the business or the team or whoever.
Absolutely. I think that attribute brings growth because you can bounce off each other on what the final outcome is going to be, because it's then going to be the best, because you've together not argued, but you've really drawn some out of each other what is the right landing idea out of what we've discussed. And so having that attribute as a manager to say, hey, this really doesn't feel right, or it's just not working the way that you had explained to me. Can I try this way? Actually being forward about what's not working or what is working, or what ideas they have that could really develop some amazing growth, and not being afraid to say it, not just being a doer, but being a thinker as well, and really forward ahead of that.
We call it riffing, don't we, Greta?
Yes,
Like
we
you
do.
and I will riff and you say, please, can we just riff on this?
Yeah.
And we can just have a conversation to really nut out the best outcome for any topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, let's switch now for an owner who is getting ready to establish a manager role in the salon. What would you say are the top three things that, in your experience, because this is where you primarily spend your time, the top three things that we need to consider to bring on a salon manager?
Fantastic. I love this question because is an area that I work so heavily with, especially with our salon masters and the managers in the Motivating Managers program. The first one I want to dive into is the having a very clear job description for your salon manager. If this is not clear, then the expectations and the understanding of the role is not there. And it's something that leads to you as a CEO being so frustrated because the jobs aren't getting done. But then as a manager, it also leads to their overwhelm and feeling like they're not fulfilling their role because they actually don't know what their role is. And if that's not clear from the start and not referred to often, that again leads to overwhelm from both parts. And we get into that point of like, why do we even have a manager? Because she's not doing a role, she's not following the steps, but just do they actually know what those steps are?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of assumption that people will know naturally what to do, common sense rules, but funnily enough, common sense isn't that common. Do you know, people don't learn by osmosis, they learn by things being clearly set out. So yes, I agree, a clear written description that's used often. There's no point in a drawer, is it?
No, and I think that sometimes we think, okay, it's like a contract, you know, we go, okay, here's all the details, let's sign, seal, deliver, great, that gets folded away until needs must situation. A job description or a job role clarity needs to be referred to often enough so that we know that it's there. It's like a system and process in the business. We need to bring it out and refresh it and look at it, make sure that it's relevant and still relevant as the years go on, so that again everyone's on the same page. Otherwise, this builds frustration and concerns and overwhelm.
Yeah, it's quite funny really, and I know I've fallen into this trap myself, is you show somebody something once and then you think that they got it, but I showed you your job description, you should know it. But actually you can't read a document once and know everything on there. It's not realistic, do you know? Have you ever read a book, you loved the book, and then a year later you read the same book and it's like reading it all over again? you don't actually remember the details, and so you can read a book or watch a movie more than one
Mm.
time. And so it's kind of the same with a manager's description. Can we touch on organizational chart for a second, Greta? Because um, I'm keen on your thoughts on this. I know for us in Salon Owners Collective, we look at that darn thing regularly. We probably look at it at least 10 times a year just to check
Yeah.
who should be doing what are the roles, where are the changes, where are the breaks. Is that same?
It's definitely such an important piece of when you are implementing a salon manager, because if you understand where and what they're doing as part of your business, and it then leads on to you as a CEO and knowing where is your role, where do you now fit in that organizational chart, and understanding then where are the team, where do they fit, and who's doing what. If we're not clear on that and we don't regularly touch on it, what happens is things fall and break because they get dropped off and they fly away somewhere and we forget that they ever existed. And then what we need is to draw back to that's the landing place of where are we, who's doing what. And when you're implementing a new role into your business, be the salon manager, that you are then able to then place that right so that you then are taking on your role or new role as a CEO. So there is that's my thoughts on where the org chart sort of fits in as such of implementing a salon manager, or even just fine-tuning your salon manager that you currently have.
Yeah, it's a visual representation of how things should be, and it stops role creep. You know, typically the owner would be the one who creeps back the role of the manager without really realizing, and then feels frustrated that the manager's not doing the job, and hasn't realized that they've been doing it for them all this time. That would be pretty. That happens.
Very common.
Yes,
very common. Like more common than we absolutely think. And I think, like you say, it happens unknowingly sometimes.
Yeah.
And then it's not until there's too many balls up in the air or the owner's feeling like there's lots going on that we go, okay, half of that should actually be with the manager. Oh yes, stepped into it a little bit too far.
Yes, I took over.
Yeah, but at the same time, again, if you're finding the right person, you are going to have someone that says, hey, that's mine, don't take it off me.
Yeah, get out.
They're going to have a bit more strength and confidence to say to you, no, I've got this, you can go over here and do your thing and keep working on that because I can do this.
Yeah, I've got this. Leave me to it.
So again, that comes back to that right person.
Well, this is a good segue to your point number 2, which you shared with me, is trust. Can we talk about that word?
Absolutely. I don't feel like any relationship, trust is a powerful, impactful piece to have, even more so when you have a salon manager in place. The purpose, I feel, of having trust with your manager is so that you can leave, walk away without stress or worry, and know that your salon manager has got it. You know that your salon manager is owning it. They have the passion and the drive to take it where you want it to go. And you can go away on holiday as an owner. You can do what you need to do, not be on the floor, whatever it is, but with trust that your manager has got it. So the trust needs to be there. And maybe you need to form that over time and build on that over time. Yes. But I know, like, again, from working with salon masters and with their managers, it's really something we need to build their confidence and lead them with confidence so that we as owners can be sure that that we've got that trust both ways. Because if it's only one way, it's not going to be strong enough.
No. And sometimes trust is a choice until it's been proven. Like, you have to choose to trust first and then build positive, reinforcing, trustful experiences until there's a real mutual two-way trust. And I think that's really important, because with no trust, everything breaks down, and those situations that could be fixed by looking at the organizational chart actually aren't fixed because there's no trust that things will change or that you've got each other's back.
Yeah. And I think I've said this before as well, but where there's no trust, there's no growth. And I feel like you can't keep moving forward and keep projecting towards those future goals and have growth if there's no trust between leaders in the business.
And it's up to the leader to start that process, like as us as the
100%.
business owner. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so we've talked about needing a job description when we're trying to work with our manager. We've talked about actively, proactively building trust in the relationship of the two of you so you've got each other's back. What would be the last most important thing?
Last and most important thing, the thing that I speak so highly of and so often, is having a communication system. Whenever there is breakdown of communication, again, that's where the trust falls. That's where the job clarity or job understanding falls. So communication between a salon manager and salon owner is be or end all. You need that the most. But having a true, strong system where your manager will communicate to you as a salon CEO, not you chasing for the questions and you chasing and asking what's happening, what's going on. Have you done this? Have you done that? Like that is where trust does not form. Like you're not trusting they're doing the work, and then they don't trust that you trust them. So it's like it's a ripple effect. Communication system is where it's at to ensure that all of these other areas we talked about are built on and building that foundation. So in terms of what I mean by communication system, there's a system of communicating up, so ensuring that we've got a strong like reporting system between salon manager and CEO. And then as well as that is like how often we actually meeting each other as a salon owner and manager. Are we meeting weekly, fortnightly, monthly? And this can be, and from my experience with managers and CEOs, it can be for a start very unsure. What should I be doing? Like, what is the right meeting cadence between all of us? And so it's like, okay, if you are with your salon manager weekly, how long are you with them for? What is the depth of conversation? What's the detail you're talking about? And same goes fortnightly and monthly. There is a recommendation of flow. Again, you need to have the context agenda outlined so that you have a really strategic meeting.
Yes, exactly. I think I see too many people meeting with their manager and kind of catching up over the weekend and like what Jemima's doing in the back room without real structure.
Yeah.
And then it all falls apart. So there's kind of a, like you said, there's a time cadence, like how often, but then there's also a really clear agenda, being really focused on the manager's outcomes. We actually did a podcast. We shared the 5 meetings that rule them all in a recent podcast. And so that would probably be a good place to start. Greta, maybe I'll put the link to that podcast in the show notes of this episode.
Absolute game changer. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good. Either way, both of you need to know there is a system, what the system is, what it looks like, and then all you need to do as the business owner is keep your word and stick to it and
Stick
do
to
that.
it. Yeah. Do what you say you're going to do, for sure.
Yes. Now there's a CEO standard objective for sure.
Yes.
Okay, this has been super insightful. We have talked about how do we find the right person. Well, actually, the important was the goal is find the right person. Don't just take any old person or the longest person or the person that makes the most. The right person, and make sure you follow an interview process, not just for you, but also for them to understand what the role is. We talked about what the attributes are for the right type of person. What do they look like? What do they care about? How do we work with them? And then the 3 things that we need to think about primarily working with our managers: clear job description, actively building trust, and having a communication cadence. Man, you're pretty clever. Thanks for that. That was epic. All right, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Greta, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you feel clear on what your manager's role could look like in your salon and where to start thinking about finding a motivating manager. All right, a big thank you, Greta. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. I feel like we should make this a bit of an annual thing, Greta. Come and talk to us about all the things managers. Well, there's so many things we could talk about. In any case, I know most salon owners actually recruiting or promoting a manager, it can feel super daunting. All right, I hope this episode has given you some clarity on where to find a manager. Don't forget to RSVP to my up and coming event in the Profitable and Successful Salon Owners group. Just click below. I'm going to put the link there to make sure you come and join, and we'll be posting all of the details very soon. All right, until next week. Ciao for now. Thanks for joining me on another episode of the podcast. Tune in every week as I reveal the latest insights and advice on what it takes to truly master your inner salon CEO and master your salon success. Subscribe to the Salon Owners Collective podcast on iTunes or Spotify, or visit us online at www.salonownerscollective.com. But make sure to join me in my Facebook group for answers to common questions and much, much more. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to tuning in with you again next week.